Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. My name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
Today we wanted to talk a little bit about leadership in the FLDS religion. Specifically the couple prophets or leaders up leading up to Warren Jeffs.
Yeah, and leading up to when Sam left. And we got this question in the comments. And again, we just want to remind you that we love comments, we love questions. So please leave your questions in the comments below, whether it has to do with this video or any other video. Let us know what you're thinking, and we love to make videos about it.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And before we get started, we wanted to kind of clarify just a couple key things before we get talking about prophets. And that's one, when we talk about the FLDS Church, for those of you who haven't watched all of our videos, we're referring to the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
And they are an offshoot group from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that many people call Mormons. So what happened was the LDS Church, they have the prophets that came down, and then when Wilford Woodruff, he received revelation that there was no longer supposed to be any polygamy practice.
Yeah.
And there were members of the church at that time, including Sam's great-grandfather, that said, Wilford Woodruff must be a fallen prophet. We have a testimony that polygamy is supposed to be continued on, and we know that this is right and that this is what we're supposed to do. He must be a fallen prophet. And they declared and had their own prophet, and their own prophets went down in lineage that way. So that's where they split off, was right there with polygamy, and that's why they continue to practice polygamy today. So now that we've had that quick history lesson, we mostly wanted to talk about the last couple prophets leading up to Warren, because Warren is somebody that, being on the FBI's most wanted list, running from the law. If anybody has seen his trials or things that are going on with him, and his life sentences in prison now.
Yeah, he's famous throughout the world.
Yeah, so with him being so famous, and he became the prophet before Sam left.
Yeah.
So he's familiar with them. But the question that the person originally asked was, leading up to Warren becoming prophet, like what was the differences in like the way that the different prophets led?
Right. So that's a great question, and the prophet. So I'll just talk about the most recent three prophets of the church. So the one that goes back before I was even born, actually, his name was Leroy Johnson, and he was. People loved him. He was a family guy. He was just a great leader from what I heard. I know my father loved him and respects him today, like probably beyond anyone else. He really, really liked him. So he was just a great guy that as far as I am told, ran everything. I mean, obviously they were still practicing polygamy, so it was against the law, and so I guess depending on the way you look at it. But for the members that lived out there, he was loved by all, as far as I'm aware.
What is the process? Sorry, throwing another question here. What's the process of choosing a prophet? So when Leroy Johnson, when he passed away, because prophets serve until they pass away.
Yes.
So when he passed away, what was the process in having Reuel Jeffs become the next prophet?
So that is a big topic and a long story. Yes.
Maybe another video.
to dumb it down, basically, it's whoever. It's not like you might think it would be in other churches that you might have heard. It is whoever the prophet that is about to die says should be the next prophet. That's who it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's a huge difference.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there were a lot of people that believed someone else should have been the prophet instead of Reuel Jeffs. There were a lot of people that didn't like the way Reuel Jeffs, he was a high leader in the church already before Leroy Johnson passed away, and a lot of people didn't like the way he did things. So when Leroy Johnson said Reuel Jeffs is the next person to be the prophet of the church, a lot of people were very mad about that, and they actually, some of the leaders of the church went across, up and over the hill into Centennial Park is what it's called, and started their own group of people over there. So that upset a lot of people, and a lot of people went with some of the All-Reds and other people over the hill to start their own religion, basically.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea that that's how the Centennial Park
Yep.
people
So
came to
that
be.
was when Leroy Johnson passed away, and Reuel Jeffs became the prophet. That's when that group went across.
Split off again.
Split off. Yep.
Okay, so Reuel Jeffs, how long was he a prophet for? Like, was he the prophet when you were born?
Yes, he was a prophet when I was born, and he obviously remained the prophet until he died. I'm trying to remember exactly how old I was. I would have been in my early teens, I guess,
when
he passed away. As far as my relationship goes, I had a more, I guess you could say, personal relationship with Warren Jeffs, who was obviously the prophet after his father, Reuel Jeffs, passed away.
Okay, gotcha.
And it happened the same way. It happened the same way where when Reuel Jeffs died, he then said, "My son Warren Jeffs is to be the prophet." And that, once again, a lot of people were upset and split off. And we had a big group, several groups, I guess, of followers and FLDS members in Canada. And I believe all of them just said, no, we're not following Warren Jeffs.
Was it common for prophets to pass along to their sons? Because I mean, obviously Leroy Johnson didn't, right? Reuel wasn't one of his children.
No, it had happened before.
Okay.
Before the Wooleys, there was the John Woolley and then Lauren Woolley. So if you look, farther back in the history of the FLDS, it has happened, but no, that's not necessarily common.
It's not like that's the way it is.
No, not necessarily, but. Yeah, it's just whoever the prophet says is the next one, that's the next one, and that's how that works. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then if you don't agree with it, then they like splinter off into another group.
Yeah, that's the way it happened, basically. Yeah. But the differences were big. So obviously, I don't remember. It's just what I was told is what I know about Leroy Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Reuel Jeffs, I feel like I had a pretty good, things were pretty good out there. Obviously, there was the people that didn't agree and were very upset and angry with the whole thing that went, a couple miles down the road. But when Reuel Jeffs died, and towards the end of his life too, and maybe it's because that's when Warren Jeffs started running things a little bit more,
having more influence.
But towards the end of Reuel Jeffs' life, things started to get a little bit more, I guess you could say, crazy, a lot more strict. This isn't allowed. That's not allowed. You can't do this, and just things just seem to get a little bit more tense. And then when Reuel Jeffs died, that's when I guess yes, that's when things just started to happen that everyone would say is just crazy. A lot of the abuse, a lot of the things that Warren Jeffs was put into prison for, and it just, to this day, things have just progressively gotten worse and worse and worse as far as, I mean, it came down to telling people how they should dress in the morning. That's how strict.
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah,
I was like, some of the things when he says, like, making crazy rules, like, he really means it. Like, for a while there wasn't, like, no dogs allowed, right?
Yeah, that was I believe Reuel Jeffs was still alive, but that was towards the end of his life, so it could have been who knows.
So you couldn't have a dog as a pet.
No dogs allowed. Yeah, no dog. Yeah, and then they claimed because dogs were of an evil spirit or something like that. It was they had a lot of.
Give us a couple more examples. We want to hear
things. A couple more examples about rules.
Yeah, like crazy rules.
Well, dogs was one of them. We weren't allowed to. There was one specific mountain that we weren't allowed to hike on because they believed that evil spirits from way back in the church history and the scriptures, they believed that some of these evil spirits were still on that mountain, and they would tell stories about anyone that ever tried to hike this mountain would never return. And so, hey,
that'd be so scary as a child.
Funny story. After I moved out, I had never climbed that mountain. I didn't want to, disappear for life. So
yeah, no.
I had never climbed this mountain. After I moved out, and I realized, man, not everything I was told is true. I went right back and climbed the mountain, and here I am. So
you survived. You survived.
Maybe it's because I didn't go all the way to the top of the mountain. Maybe that's where it all happens. But
Who
anyway,
knows?
so things like that.
There was something about color red too, right?
Oh man, that was my whole life growing up. We were not allowed to. Well, no, I guess when I was a baby, I had a picture with a red shirt on, so it must have
Which we don't have
happened.
many pictures of him. So when we saw it, again, I was like, just one more proof he was a rebel right from the beginning. Because the one picture we have of him as a toddler,
Yeah,
he was in a red shirt.
yeah.
But they
So
did ban that color for a long time.
that color was not allowed, and it is not allowed. They say that color is an evil color. Even a lot of people believe you shouldn't even have a vehicle in that color. For whatever reason, my mother didn't like the color black either. Black and red, no go. She hated it when we wore a black shirt. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
And
color.
what was? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
What you were saying specifically, like the way you had to get dressed. I know you've told me that before. You want to tell?
Well, that was like being an actual rule. That happened pretty recent, long after I had moved out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, long after I'd moved out is when that happened. Warren Jeffs from prison started sending out these messages on this is you have to do everything like this, like this, like this, or you won't qualify to return to Heavenly Father. So, but I think what you're referring to is when I was a child, we were taught that everything had an order and everything should be done in a specific way. And a story that Father told me is when one day he went to visit Leroy Johnson, going back before I was born. And Leroy Johnson started putting his sock on and then took it off. And Father asked him, what was that all about? And he had started putting his left sock on, and then he put his right sock on first and said everything has an order. Or I think he said in heaven there is order in all things, something like that. So
That's some
yeah,
intense order.
yeah,
And things too, as Warren Jeffs, like when Warren Jeffs got put into prison, um, definitely typical like power trip because he no longer could have the control that he wanted to. So he started doing lots of extra things to be able to try to hold on to any power that he did have. So that's when, and we'll have to make a whole other video on this, but that's when he started separating families, punishing men for sins that they didn't even know what they did. Sam's father was taken away from his family, and still is. So we'll do another video on some of those more recent things of Warren Jeffs' power trip, I guess could probably be what it's titled,
yeah.
but a lot of things like that. But those are like some of the main changes with Warren. You weren't allowed to have celebrations either, right?
No, no. Well, that was with Warren. When Warren became the leader, no more celebrating any holidays, anything like that. When I was younger, we were allowed to do some celebrating. On the 4th of July, we'd have a firework display that the fire department would put on. And we would have a lot of fun family, or not family, but community events that were a lot of fun. That's why I say growing up, it was a great childhood. Had a lot of fun and did a lot of great things with family and friends. But yeah, when Warren Jeffs came around, he put an end to everything that you would consider fun. They wouldn't even allow us to use the word fun as an example. We had to say enjoyable. Fun wasn't allowed. So we weren't allowed to do anything that was fun or even say the word fun. So, yeah, oh man, yeah. So he definitely started right away. I don't know what was going on up in his brain, but he wanted control of everything.
Right from the get-go.
Yeah.
So that's a quick version. Again, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe to our channel. And also, please leave more comments. I know that this probably just opened up
A lot more questions.
So many more questions, but we love questions. So please leave questions in the comments below, and we'll try to make more videos about what it was like for Sam growing up in polygamy. And we'll talk to y'all soon.
We'll talk to you soon.